Hello, my friends, and welcome to The Simple Sober Life. I am Joshua, and I help others make simple changes to create a life of awesome. So, I don't know about you, but there have definitely been times in my life where I have felt extremely lonely. You know, you could be standing in the middle of a crowd and feel like you're completely alone. And it's such a desolating and isolating feeling. And, you know, a lot of that comes with depression and anxiety and things like that. I really noticed this when I was drinking. You know, I would literally, every opportunity I got, I would shut out the world and I would hide away in my bedroom with nothing but a bottle. And the bottle became the only friend that I had. And it was a really vicious cycle because I would drink so I wouldn't feel alone. And yet I was alone because I drank so much. And, you know, now that I'm sober, and I've been sober for a while, there are still times that I feel really lonely. I mean, I've literally taken away my best friend. You know, alcohol used to comfort me and protect me, or at least make me feel safe and protected. It allowed me to, you know, analyze all of the problems that I had and things like that. But in coming into sobriety, now I'm kind of forced into, you know, dealing with these pits of loneliness. And fortunately, you know, over the past several months, you know, I've built up my self-esteem, and that has helped out a lot. But I've done some research on, you know, loneliness and things like that. And it turns out that we are in a wide range of company. I found out that 47% of Americans have claimed to feel lonely. And this includes 30% of millennials who actually who claim to always or often feel lonely. Now, there's a huge difference between being alone and feeling lonely. You know, someone who is kind of a homebody and kind of introverted and things like that can be alone, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're lonely. Lonely is kind of a feeling in the pit of your stomach where, you know, your confidence is shot. You have absolutely no self-confidence whatsoever. You feel like the whole world is kind of against you, and, you know, you kind of just want to hide under the blanket and not leave. And, you know, I experienced this for years. And like I mentioned, the more that I drank, the more lonely I felt. And then the more lonely I felt, the more I drank. And so, you know, it just went around and around. I further found out that 60% of married couples feel lonely. And about 47% of the elderly feel lonely. You know, when my grandpa was still living, my last living grandpa, he was in, my second to last living grandpa, was in a nursing home. And I would go in to visit, my family and I would go in to visit him, you know, about once a week or so. And, you know, it was like the light had gone out of his eyes. It was like his soul had already left his body, and he was just this void, decaying person lying in that hospital bed. And it was really sad. He never left his room. He never interacted with anyone. He just laid in his room all day long. And no doubt he felt utter loneliness. And, you know, with this coronavirus going around and people having to self-quarantine, I'm sure feelings of loneliness are spiking right now. You know, you're not able to go out of your house, not able to interact with other people, not able to go to restaurants, to work, or anything else. And so, you know, loneliness is a huge issue. And if we don't get it under control, it can be devastating. It can turn into, a lifestyle. And so hopefully this video will help you, kind of dig yourself out of that loneliness and, actually get out there and start feeling joy again. Now, there are a lot of different reasons that come to play when it comes to loneliness. It could be the loss of a spouse or a family member. It could be the loss of a job. It could be the loss of anything of value or something that you hold dear, as well as, depression and anxiety like we've talked about. But the number one reason that people feel lonely is because they don't have a solid connection with themselves. There's an old adage that you can't love anyone until you love yourself. Well, the same thing, I guess, kind of goes with loneliness. You can't feel that joy of, being included, whether you are or are not with other people, if you don't feel that way inside. And so we need to start working on, being okay with ourselves, being not prideful, but being compassionate and confident within ourselves in order to start battling that loneliness. And I know from personal experience, it's not something that happens overnight. We have to take small steps and make small changes in order to achieve that level of confidence and self-awareness so that we can actually fight off that feeling of loneliness. And here are a couple of things that you can do in order to take steps so that you can become more confident and become more of a person who is joyful with themselves, so that you can battle those lonely feelings and those pits of loneliness. One thing that I have found is actually being able to have fun with myself. Don't be dirty. No, actually doing things that bring you joy, that make you happy. One of the things that really makes me happy is, taking time and creating these videos. I've never been one to actually share my feelings or my thoughts with many people. But actually getting on camera and, creating these videos that I hope inspire and help other people bring me a lot of joy. And, every time I create one, I kind of give myself a pat on the back and, that kind of helps boost my confidence. And I don't really feel alone because I'm building this community for other people who, kind of think the same way and who have had similar experiences. Another thing that I do for fun is I love to get in the car and just get in the car one morning and kind of point the car in a direction and say, I'm going to explore this area, somewhere I've never been. I love hopping in the car and going to Asheville and exploring different places. I love going to little towns and just kind of walking about, figuring out what the points of attraction are and, just spending time outside, going to the mountains and just, taking in that beautiful scenery that's out there. Things that you enjoy can actually bring you peace and fulfillment within so that you can help build up that confidence and combat that loneliness. Another thing that you can do is learn to laugh. Even when I'm alone, there's usually a conversation going on in my head. And I think of some of the most random and off-the-wall things. And it's sporadic. It'll just pop in my head. And, I can't help but to laugh, even if I'm laughing with myself and the other voices in my head. But, learning to laugh again, even when you're with other people, cracking jokes or, just making light of a situation, being able to laugh. It's scientifically proven to kind of release endorphins and, make you feel more joyful and fulfilled inside. And I've heard of studies where you actually, if you force yourself to laugh, then that actually alters the chemicals within your brain, and it kind of it kind of forces those endorphins to be released, and you start feeling that feeling of joy and serotonin and things like that. Where serotonin? I think so. I'm not a scientist, but anyway, it kind of transitions your mood from feeling lonely into feeling included and a part of. Another thing that you can do is become your own counselor. Now, don't listen to the voices inside your head. That is one thing I would advise you not to do, because they're going to give you 100 different answers. But what I have found that has helped me is actually speaking the situation that I'm in out loud, and then being able to analyze where I'm at and come up with logical steps in what I need to do in order to combat whatever situation I'm in, actually helps me feel like I have a sense of accomplishment. And so, if I'm having a situation and, I just sit and ponder on it, I'm just going to sit and ponder on it over and over and over. And all that's going to do is kind of isolate me more and cause me to feel trapped. But when I start actually saying, okay, Josh, this is where you're at. Right now, you've made great progress, but you want to lose a couple more pounds. All right, so instead of just saying I'm fat, I'm able to speak it out loud, analyze, okay, this is where I am, this is where I've come from, so what do I need to do in order to make the next step? And so speaking that out loud and actually forming a solution can help bring you more joy and combat some of that loneliness in just getting inside your head. Another thing that I have found that really, really helps is finding some sort of spiritual connection. For years, I kind of wandered aimlessly. I always believed that there was something out there that was greater than myself, and, believed that we were all connected in some way, but I never really had that connection. And there's always been kind of an emptiness inside me. And then, thankfully, in living with my sister, they're very religious. And, I go to church with them and things like that. And, in doing that, I've been able to actually start to form a spiritual connection. I'm not saying I believe everything that comes from organized religion, but it has definitely helped me take a step forward in kind of filling that void, that emptiness that's kind of always been there. And so, organized religion or not, find a way to create that spiritual connection. Meditation is a fantastic way to do that. Prayer before or after you get up and before you go to bed. Just so that you're communicating with, that higher spiritual being of whatever you may call it, whatever you may believe in. Another thing that I have found that really helps combat loneliness is reconnecting with old friends. And over the past couple of months, I have had so many friends that I have just lost contact with, for whatever reason. We all have our own lives. And, in the pits of alcoholism, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I've started being able to reconnect with them either through Facebook or right over the phone. And, I would have a conversation with a friend that I may have lost touch with for hours. And, we just catch up. And, just having that human connection with someone else, because that is absolutely vital. It's scientifically proven that is a human necessity. We have to have some sort of human connection with another person. And, reaching out, I mean, if they haven't contacted you in a long time, take initiative and, talk to them, reach out to them, ask them how they're doing, and get involved in their lives and catch up. Tell them what's been going on. Maybe they'll have a good insight for you. Maybe they've gone through a similar situation. They can tell you how they combated it. And so reconnecting with old friends is a surefire way to help battle some of this loneliness that, we feel after, we've taken away the bottle or the drug. Another thing that I have found that really helps me get out of these feelings of loneliness is volunteering. I was court ordered to volunteer for a period of time, and I've done it outside of the court system, but it didn't really matter because the point was I was actually getting out and I was thinking of someone else first. And I tell you what, one of the coolest experiences volunteering that I did was I went to a food pantry. And this was in the depths of my alcoholism. This was like I couldn't get any lower. But to see people who were to the point of starvation, and that I was actually contributing to them being able to eat for the week, that was pretty monumental and pretty eye-opening. Helping someone less fortunate than yourself, it kind of fills your soul with, a compassion and an empathy and a love that most of us don't get on a daily basis. And so, reaching out and helping other people, volunteering your time, can really help fight some of that loneliness. Another thing that you can do is, take care of yourself physically. When at the end of my drinking, I was 70 pounds overweight. I had maxed out at 235. I was borderline morbidly obese, if not that. And once I made the decision to actually pay more closer attention to what I was putting in my body and started seeing the results of changing those eating habits, my confidence started, going up. And, it's kind of an inside game as to where, it starts on the inside and kind of works its way out. You start eating better and you physiologically feel better. And then you look in the mirror and you notice some progress, which kind of makes you feel good about yourself, which kind of helps your soul. And so it kind of all moves in the same direction. So working out, eating healthy, can really help combat some of that loneliness, because again, we're fighting some sort of inner demon that's causing that loneliness. And so, we're going to build that self-confidence to help combat it. Another thing that we can do is start loving joy rather than misery. Now, I know this sounds maybe a little off-kilter or a little strange, especially if you are in the midst of loneliness right now. I don't know about you, but I fall into traps of self-pity and misery, and I find comfort in it. And because I get comfortable in that situation, in that feeling, then I prolong that for as long as I can. And soon the doors are shut and it's really hard to get out. Like I mentioned, I every opportunity I got, I would literally just shut myself in my room, drink myself away, and focus on all of the problems that I had. Allowing these this wall of misery to form all around me. And, once I stopped drinking and entered into sobriety, I was finally awoken to a clear mind and a realization of, what kind of isolation I had put myself in. And so I was able to make effort to start chipping away at those bricks and actually allow other people in and allow other joyful things into my life. And one of my favorite things in order to combat loneliness, get a pet. I have the most beautiful angel in the world, and unfortunately she's not living with me right now, but I tell you what, even when I was at my loneliest, I guess that's a word, loneliest, when I would curl up to that sweet little girl, my heart would fill with joy. And my sister has a dog, Faith. And every time I come home, she's right there at the door wagging her tail, and she wants pets, and she's a big old baby, and she just loves to be loved. And, you can't really have a pet and not give love. It just comes out of you. There's something about just having that pet. And, if you are falling into some sort of desperate point of loneliness, it might be time to, fill that void with some companionship. If it's not human, it could have some fur. And sometimes they make better companions anyway. But I hope you got value out of this. If you did, please make sure to comment down below. How have you fought those, pits of loneliness, those cycles of loneliness? I would love for you to share your experience down below. Also, give this video a big old thumbs up and subscribe. Hit that bell when you subscribe. It's down there somewhere. And hit that bell when you subscribe so you get notified each time I create a video. Anyway, my friends, I hope you're having a great day. Take care.